So welcome to 5 Minutes with Bo Hansen. We're going to have a quick conversation about leadership. We know for a fact that having effective leaders in your particular team absolutely is going to enhance your win-loss record. And we also know that we don't always get the opportunity, even with good intentions, to do as much leadership development as what we would like. What I find is one of the big challenges for student athletes today, and even professional leaders, is the fact that the leadership role is a massive job. From a DISC perspective, whatever your profile is, it absolutely means that you're going to have to display a lot of adaptive behaviors. I personally even noticed this in myself. And if we're going to do the role well, we've got to have capacity to do it. And what I mean by capacity is that I need to have my game under control if I'm going to actually allocate mental space and energy to being able to provide effective leadership for my team. But the reality is that even having that capacity, knowing what to do in the moment can sometimes be challenging. And so I recently did a really quick activity with a group of new student athlete leaders on their respective Division I team, where we literally wrote down on a daily basis, what is our leadership checklist? So what that means is when I turn up to practice, what are the key behaviors? What are the key checklist items? It's like a to-do list of things that I need to do in order to perform my leadership role effectively. In this particular instance, there were 3 leaders on the team, and each of them needed to check in with each other to make sure that these little tasks were being done every single day. The reality is that if you have a leadership checklist, and it included things like, right, number 1, make sure that everyone turned up on time. Okay, number 2, make sure that people were in a positive and productive mood when they walked into the court or into the stadium or down at the rowing facility. Number 3, make sure that people had the correct uniform on. Number 4, make sure that people actually said hello to everyone else around them. And so there's 4 quick items that you need to check off on. And why do we have those items? Well, people being late, people not wearing the right uniform, people not being respectful and saying hello to their fellow team members, people not being in a productive mood when they turn up at practice today. If you don't notice today, and it happens again tomorrow, then it happens the next day, and it starts to get a little bit worse, before too long, it's that analogy of, when something fractures and breaks, it doesn't just suddenly snap apart. There's typically some sort of hairline fracture that actually suggests that something is under stress, and if you leave it for long enough, that fracture will get bigger and eventually it falls apart. Well, all of these little leadership item checklist pieces are also elements that if you're checking them every single day, and you notice that an athlete turned up today and they're a little bit late, but you're able to have a conversation, they know that you're upholding standards, it's a checklist item. You can address something at the smallest level before it becomes a massive issue that your team has to deal with later on. So my advice to you is, if you're a leader or if you've got student athlete leaders on your team, help them create a checklist item, and there might be 7 or 8 or even 10 things on it. And between the group of them, they can make sure that each of these items are checked off on a daily basis, and you are constantly and always, checking and updating and understanding the culture of your team and the standards that you're trying to live by.